welcome to the 22nd Annual UH Venture Competition. We are so delighted to be here on the 7th floor of the beautiful American Savings Bank campus in Honolulu. To the viewers on YouTube, thank you for tuning in and spending your Saturday with us. Since you folks are on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. So, my name is Sandra Fujiyama, and I'm the Executive Director of PACE. I joined this amazing team 6 months ago. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, but I've been loving every minute of it. Particularly because of moments like these, where we get to showcase our innovative and talented students. Today, we have 3 incredible teams that are competing for more than $65,000 in prizes. And none of this would be possible without our amazing partners. So first off, thank you, HEI and Hawaiian Electric, for being our title sponsor. Your continued partnership and investment make this semester-long program possible. I also want to take the time to give a big shout out to AJ Halagao. There you are, at HEI and also to Michelle Bartel at ASB for her generous hospitality. Thank you. Thank you also goes to our generous prize sponsors. In addition to the cash prizes, the first, second, and third place winners will take home a carefully curated prize package of in-kind professional service support that will help them on their entrepreneurial journey. So thank you to Blue Logic Labs, High Beam, Hub Co-working Hawaii, New Venture Pro, Pineapple Tweed, and Vantage Council. The complete list of valuable prizes is on page 13 of the program, so you can check all of that out. Next, I would like to recognize the Dean of the Shidler College of Business, Dan Turley. Now on to today's event. The journey for our finalists began in January. Over the past 3 months, they poured hundreds of hours into interviewing potential customers, developing real traction, writing a comprehensive business plan, and preparing a compelling pitch. They have beat out more than 20 other teams along the way in the first and second rounds. It's a very intense program, and all of the teams should be very proud of their accomplishments. So round of applause for all the teams. So here's our agenda for today. First, we'll introduce the judges. Then each finalist team will have 10 minutes for their presentation, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A with our judging panel. Then the judges will move out and deliberate in a separate room while we all go on a break. Then we'll come back here at 11:30 for our award ceremony. Now let's meet our judges. First, we have Dr. Robert Robinson, who is a professor of management at the Shidler College of Business and also the president of the Hawaii Angels. Next, we have Scott Siu. He is the president and CEO of Hawaiian Electric Industries and also the chair of American Savings Bank. Lauren Mame really wanted to be here today, but at the last minute she had a conflict, and so she was not able to make it. But thankfully, we have Susan Yamada, who stepped in and agreed to judge at the last minute. So our judges have already read the team's business plans and will help us make the very tough decision today. So please help me in thanking our judges. to our first team. I have a couple of housekeeping announcements. So we ask that members of the audience please refrain from interacting with the presenters or the judges. And if you could please try not to cause any disruptions while the presentations are in session. So if you have any ringing devices, now is the time to turn them off or silence them. Okay, everyone ready? Okay, let's get started. So first up, our first team is Recesio, and they were coached by Davin Higashi of Proudmate.
Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for attending the presentation for our company, Recesio. Recesio is an automated optimization construction company with the aim of finding sustainable solution. What I mean by automated, the whole construction design is completed by the computer and optimized. Instead of finding a final design which is only safe, we aim to find a final design which is safe and optimal in terms of cost, time, and sustainability. Our team member is myself, Muhammad, Amr, and Mustafa. We are 3 PhD students in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department in University of Hawai. We have a combined 10 years experience in construction, structure design, and management. So the construction market is huge. The monthly investment in such market increased from $200 billion in 1993 to $760 billion in 2021 monthly, and this is in the US alone in the residential sector. And the same trend is shown in the non-residential and public sector. This shows the opportunity for our model to be implemented. So in typical construction design workflow, it starts with the global standards, which are a group of codes that the architect and the structural engineers use and must follow. First, the architect starts by performing the spatial architectural design, which is mainly determining the functionality of each of the available space. Then the structural engineer performs the structural design of different elements. Then these two trades enters a long phase of negotiation and feedback to reach a final design, which is safe, but it's not necessarily optimal. So the problem that you are trying to solve, first, this whole construction process is systematic. The construction design process is systematic, which means it can be automated. Second, the tedious negotiation phase and change order. Third, the construction are optimized to cost and time. As we mentioned, it's safe, but it's not necessarily optimal. And finally, the negative environmental impact of the construction industry. So the goal of our company is combining these two processes with the structural elements design and the negotiation phase into a completed, one automated and optimized process. So our solution is providing a completely automated design, terminating the tedious negotiation phase. This phase is very long. In some projects, it can take up to 4 years and it costs a huge amount of money. Optimized and safe design instead of only safe design. And finally, we introduce the concept of recycled plastic concrete as an approach for environmental sustainability inside our model. My colleague will continue with the validation of our model.
Thank you, Muhammad. As Muhammad said, our project is not like just an idea. It has been implemented. We have an actual working prototype which has been implemented in 11 different projects. This bar chart can show the amount saving per meter square for each project. The maximum saving for our model was about 20%, as shown in this bar chart. So when coming to the target market, it appears that in the United States alone, the spending in the construction industry is around $700 billion monthly. Our model can save around $1.2 million in different sectors as shown in this bar chart. So our construction design process is novel. However, there are many software platforms that we need to rise beyond them. Our competing companies can be Autodesk, Primavera, and CSR. Autodesk is a 3D modeling company, but our model can provide a full 3D modeling process. Second, CSI is a structural design company, but our model can integrate architecture functionality into the design process. And finally, the Primavera is a scheduling and design tool, but our model can optimize scheduling through automation. Now, my colleague Amr will start to talk about financial study.
Thank you, Mustafa. Okay, so during our first year, we mainly need fund to purchase some equipment, such as our workstations, or hire some like software developers to further develop our software, and also to hire some salesperson to sell our service. And based on our financial study, we found that we need around $100K US as an initial fund for this project. Okay. Sorry. So our company is a subscription-based service model, and to normalize the use of our service, such as Netflix or Hulu, that's why marketing is very essential for this project. So we started our plan with a user-friendly, or designing a user-friendly website and mobile application to provide our service and communicate with our clients. Also, we plan to direct outreach to our potential clients to try our service. And also, we are interested in the future generation of engineers. So we are planning to do like university seminar regularly to widespread use or make it familiar with the first or coming generations. And in the future, finally, we will focus more on the paid advertising online. And regarding our sales channel, so our strategy is to provide our service at the start, free for trial, to attract new clients or customers. And also direct outreach to small companies and charge a flat rate per design revision to normalize or widespread use of this service. Based on our financial plan and our cash flow study, we can see that the revenue is increasing exponentially in the first 3 years. And if we compare between the expenses and our revenue, we can see the profit. And especially in the second year, we can see or notice negative profit. And this is due to spending on marketing plan and our strategy to integrate in the construction sector or market. But starting from the next year, 2024, we can expect a positive profit, and this is of course due to increased number of projects. And as a determined team, we need to set some ambitious milestones. So by end of June, we should incorporate our company, and in October we should have our first paid project, and before ending of this year, we should hire our first salesperson. Thank you so much. We are all welcome to have or answer your questions.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. Let me jump right into the sales slide here, because that's something I'm not clear on. Can you help me understand who your customer actually is who's paying for the subscription? And because a lot of construction is project by project, so who's paying for the subscription in an ongoing way, and why are they paying?
Okay, our main customers will be the architects themselves. Why? Because instead of going to
Green light on?
So our primary customers will be the architects. Instead of going through the whole process of the structural design after preparing the initial architectural design, the architect will just use our website or application to upload this design, and it will give him a complete structural design. And and from this he can know if this is safe, it's a safe design, if you want to change something. So yeah, our main customer will be the architect, followed by that the contractors, the different contractors in the construction sector.
Okay. I'm going to circle back, but let me give the other judges a chance here.
My first impression is you're rushing to market. I wouldn't really worry about that so much. I would focus more on the validation that you can save 20%. Because if you can save 20%, that's correct, right, on materials, then doesn't the product sell itself if you can prove it and it's safe?
Yes, actually this is what we have been working on in the last 6 months or more. We have an 11 actual projects which we got the plans, architectural plans, and integrated them.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that, right.
And we use them inside our model, and we got the actual 20%. So yeah, validation is a very important piece which we are working on right now.
So as far as these 11 models then, and the cost savings, have they been validated? And I guess the other biggest issue is the safety issue.
Yes.
And have they been validated that it's safe, and you have to go through any regulatory agencies and get approvals before you can begin to sell it to the public?
Actually, the whole concept of our model is based on every design alternative will be a safe one. All the designs that come out of the model are safe. But actually, we have validated 7 of this project using an actual structural design software, and we found out that it's safe.
So I guess just to follow up on that question, is your market broadly the United States, other countries, and so with that, have you folks explored the different design standards and sign-off requirements, right? Because obviously, as you folks are pretty well versed as civil engineering grad students, licensed professional engineering licensure stamps, especially from a structural engineering perspective.
So maybe we already developed this model, at least to consider U.S. codes, like the standards of U.S., and also because we are from Egypt, the Egyptian code for standards, and which is very familiar to the European one. So now we develop these two alternatives, but if we can develop or expand more in other countries, we need to change a little bit. The difference is not that big between the design and standards. So we can change a little bit in the code of our model to consider these differences.
One more question. Have you actually spoken to some of the regulatory types of bodies, as an example, in the state of Hawaii, you do need a structural engineer to sign off on the designs. Have you actually spoken to any of those types of regulators?
We mainly started we started from Egypt, and we have all of our experience in Egypt. So yeah, we tested this in Egypt, and we had some models here, but we didn't go to the step of reviewing in like a consultant company or something. But we are not 100% guaranteed, but we can give them the code standards for the steps they are following in their companies, consulting companies, and we are using that
So let me ask you a question that goes to sort of the premise of your business plan. So when I started reading, when I started reading your business plan, I thought initially you were going to be talking about how to dispose of building and construction waste. But then you kind of zagged in your business plan, and you were talking about incorporating that at the design level. Now, I agree that that's actually, in the long run, the better way to go. However, the low-hanging fruit here, as it were, would be to become a kind of a consultant to construction companies and say, hey, let me help you plan how to get rid of the inevitable waste that and have all of that in place so that you're doing it in an environmentally friendly way. You have all the channels set up. Maybe you can help them recover some of the costs, and so on. Have you thought about taking that tack and then working backwards into that? Hey, if you actually used us from a design point of view, you would save even more money, right? But let's start with the waste and then go backwards, kind of thing.
Yes, actually, this is part of our business model, offering our service to the contractor as a way of improving the environmental impact and optimizing the design process itself. But the ultimate goal, which we believe we will be able to make a huge amount of money from, is the idea of integrating our model inside a software developing company such as Autodesk in order to have it as ready to use for different users. This will be our ultimate goal, but of course we are thinking about offering our service as a consultancy for different contractors.
I think you have a really interesting idea. The business part around it is the part that I have a lot of questions. I'm not sure why you need a mobile app. For example, does Autodesk have a mobile app? When architects and structural engineers are working, they're not working on mobile, right? So I don't get that, and I wouldn't want you wasting time on that. You really need to focus who your customer is and what they need, because there's a lot of disconnect. And then you mentioned recycled plastic concrete, and it sounds like that's another thing that you're trying to promote. It's like, put that on the side. Right now, you're trying to get credibility for your business that the building's not going to fall down because they use your technology. So you have to do everything possible to try and make sure that doesn't happen.
I think that's a very good question, actually. And we have two parts. The first part, why we use mobile app or websites. So maybe we need to contact our clients and make it easier for them to submit their application. So the input for our model is the architecture plan. So in order to submit these plans and get the plan with the optimum dimension, we need some sort of channel to submit something like this. So we would like to make it user-friendly and much easier for them. The second part of that question, why we are promoting using recycled material, mainly we already have published and still ongoing research on these types of materials. So it's not something new, maybe new to the industry, but in a research team are getting familiar with that. So in order also to sustain this or improve it, we also adding this value to our service.
I think we are out of time, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
So forever, my name is John from Ōfaga, and I'm a PhD student in the Hawaiian and Indigenous College in Cultural Revitalization Program at the University of Hawai, and I'm also a full-time teacher at Kekura Osa Yamada from Hawaiian Medium School in Concord.
Tawafalawa, my name is Lita Patu. I'm a mother, student at Woodward Community College. I'm in Hawaiian Studies with a concentration in creative media. So as a struggling mother of two, one of my biggest problems that I and many other Samoan families encounter is affordable daycare for my children while I work full-time at the school. For my first child, we were able to send her to Sacred Hearts with partial assistance from the school. We were paying $1,200 out of pocket. When it came to my second child, we just could not afford it. So instead, she was placed under the care of my siblings, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. I feel that my younger child did not get the same opportunities as my older child did. I feel that her speech delay could have been caught sooner if we were able to send her to preschool. I'm fortunate to have John as a brother who has taken the time to teach my children the culture and our language. When I had my older daughter in preschool for 3 years, we took her to a Samoan language school on Saturdays. Sorry. I would love to be able to send my daughter to a quality daycare that offers quality daycare, academics, and to be able to learn her native tongue culture.
We want to look at this project that's really valuable in our Hawaiian culture and refers to the name of our organization, which is Ōfaga. The offspring of birds are fed with fruits and flowers, but the offspring of man is fed with words and stories. Ōfaga is based on an already validated model of preschools of Yamada, which is a consortium of Hawaiian preschools, which I was able to participate in a practicum, and which I continue to become a teacher in Hawaiian English school. Now, I've been asked a lot, why are you a Samoan teaching in a Hawaiian English school? It's a fun question because many personal reasons, but firstly, I wanted to support the Hawaiian language movement and also to contribute to the growth of Thailand, to perpetuate the language culture of this land, but also hoping to gain the knowledge and experience that is necessary to provide the experiences that my nieces and our children in Hawaii of Samoan descent and anybody else who's interested in Samoan and Indian culture can help you to perpetuate our native tongue. So as part of our project, we were able to interview 46 families, mostly of Samoan descent. And we were able to interview parents who are both considering having children and families who have already had children between the ages of 0 and 5, which is preschool age. But the number one reason, the number one barrier that a lot of parents and future parents cited for not being able to put their child in preschool with affordability. As many of you know, childcare in Hawaii is expensive. For many people, it costs as much as a mortgage. For many of our communities, when we interview and survey different people, many of our Samoan colleagues, families, friends, simply just could not afford to pay $1,200 per month per child. So we were able to come up with these different factors in helping to research our model and help how to best serve our people. So as many of you know, childcare in the United States costs almost a mortgage for some places in the United States. In Hawaii, about $14,000 every year, or about 17% of family income is spent on childcare, which is 5% over the national average of 12% and 10% over what the United States Department of Treasury has deemed as affordable. In helping serve our people, we looked at the available options that are within our communities, and we found that there was only one other preschool in the United States that has an immersion program, which is 50% conducted in English, 50% conducted in Hawaiian. So our solution in helping to serve our people, we wanted to provide affordable tuition on a sliding scale for families not to exceed 7% of family income, as indicated by the United States Department of Treasury, which is currently 10% lower than the amount of equals to our childcare in Hawaii. And our second solution is to promote Samoan language and culture through our Pangalama literacy program, which is based on a survey program intended for children as young as 2 years old to try to read in Samoan language. Our mission is to provide affordable, quality, early childhood education for Samoan families conducting Samoan language and culture research education. And everybody knows the benefits of preschool. Like, for those of you who can't afford to go to preschool,
Yes. Thank you very much, Patrice. I know it wasn't easy, and I give you a lot of credit for pushing your comfort zone, getting out there on behalf of your community. A couple questions, and I know Tammy and KCA Preschools very well. I've been on the board for 15 years or so. And I think you've nailed the pain of the market, which is, affordability and location for preschools that you're looking at. One of the issues, has to do with your target markets are in different places, and your market is not that big. So getting, if one of the things you're trying to solve is, freeing up parents to be able to go to work, for example, having them drop their kids off, location is super important. And the other thing, and I think Tammy will concur, and the other thing that is really, really hard is when you have multiple locations, is how do you get sufficient teachers and aides, because that's a chronic problem for preschools. Have you given some thought to that as far as what your channel is to develop teachers and to be able to fully staff, especially the teacher-student ratio that you are targeting is very aggressive. So I'm just wondering if you could expand on that a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the main issues that we came across when we were interviewing different pastors in different communities, is the lack of education, teacher training programs. Personally, since I'm in the PhD program at UHU, which helped to develop the teacher training program, which I also was a part of, that I went through. My hope is that we can partner with Honolulu and Kaka'u get it going, the College of Hawaiian Language at UHU. It's possibly do a partnership to produce, to have a transfer that we can train teachers. I thought it was really effective. I think for our community we have a lot of resources in terms of mostly concentrated in the churches. There's a lot of land that we could utilize. One main problem is having teachers. And one of our advantages as Samoans is we have a lot of native speakers that we can develop with the teachers and incorporate into our model of the preschool system.
Thank you for your presentation. So, the question I have is, a lot of the costs I have to imagine will be in, of course, securing a site, leases. I think you identified utilities, those types of costs. How much investigation have you done talking to directors of existing, whether it's Untitled schools, and just really getting into under the hood of what it really takes to manage all those fixed costs in public school?
So it is a really expensive venture. We estimate that it would probably cost about $400 to $500,000 initially, depending on the different costs. Particularly payroll, rent, so one of the reasons why childcare is really expensive because in the United States it's thought public funding is not universal. So the majority of the tuition costs are just going to go to payroll, rent, and utilities level. We're hoping that we fundraising channels. So one of the needs that our community identified is applying to the different programs that subsidize childcare. It's a long, tedious process. You know, system we're through it. For them, they just tend to give up because it's a so long and arduous process. So within our model, we were hoping to hire a specific person, an administrative specialist that will help in recruitment and help walk the families through the applications process, but also to apply for subsidies.
When you folks have you considered like a ramping up type of development of the school?
I think eventually, we're hoping that once this pilot site gets off the ground, we have a lot of churches that are in the Hawaiian coast where most Samoans are. Once we continue to have community buy-in, we're hoping that they're viewers here. So after the first couple of years, the cumulative profits that we're hoping to accumulate will be invested in the new sites, possibly find future companies to help develop schools in different areas, but also with the eventual goal of replicating this model in the United States in places like California, as far as Texas, Washington, where there are large concentrations of families. Even though we have a really small market, we believe that the niche can be sustainable model.
So I think this is a wonderful idea, socially and culturally. My question is this a business? Or should it be a not-for-profit? Most educational institutions are not-for-profits, and that allows people to make tax-deductible contributions and so on. Your projections, I don't think, will attract financially motivated investors. The returns just aren't there. So, you're either going to have to find people that are double bottom line, triple bottom line type investors, or people maybe that would be interested in investing, quote unquote, in a not-for-profit that allows them to take, tax deductions and so on. So why have you thought about structuring yourselves as a not-for-profit?
We help initially because of how you mentioned tax deductible status, but also in terms of finding the obligation initially because we're looking at different churches to provide facilities. They would get a lot of tax benefits as well. And we have a lot equally. I think that would be the trajectory.
And a lot of churches will let you in if you're a nonprofit, but not if you're a for-profit.
One of the things being involved with early childhood education, so it's one of the few states now that do not publicly fund universal early childhood education, which is a crime, really. So I know that there are a lot of movements as far as trying to get legislation passed. How do you think of timing for you guys? Like Rob said, I think it's a great idea. The more we can, have specific preschools for different communities that are relatable to the families and the children, the better. But as far as the funding for those kinds of organizations, right now, if we can't get public funding like we do for charter schools for K to 12, where it's a fairly dependable cash flow coming in. If you have to do fundraising to close the gap every year, for a lot of preschools, it's really a big burden, really, to try and cover that cost that tuition is not paying or grants are paying in. So we thought about the timing, and when might be a better time to come into the market. I'm not sure right now is the best time.
We were hoping that Congress would pass the Entrepreneurship plan, but I think that would have really helped in terms of advancing universal preschool. The questions we haven't really looked at that. We have developed a timeline for having this dedicated preschool. So what we've been doing initially is having different focus groups and different preschool sessions, includes slide along the pictures to build that capacity, but also to build building on market at a grassroots level, so that when the time does come, that there will be sufficient support, whether it be public funding or even just funding from our communities. Because it's an investment that I think our communities think that is valuable.
take medicine from someone who's not a doctor? Of course not. We're a group of language learning doctors who create a goal to precisely diagnose and prescribe the kind of activities that adult language learners make and will find most productive for language learning. GOALL is a language learning company that provides a web and mobile app under a freemium business model. Our mission is to help financially independent adult language learners achieve their goals through customizable, scaffolded, and research-informed task-based activities. Our team is composed of well-trained applied linguistics researchers and PhD students with 5 to 10 years of language teaching experience. Each member is domain expert in language teaching and learning, and each member has unique talents to carry out different aspects of the app. Next, I'll hand over to Suzanne to talk about the marketing.
Thanks, Anna. So there's a huge need in the workforce right now for people who have multilingual skills. And it's multilingual skills are one of the top 10 requirements for job ads. In addition to that, in a survey of managers, about 1/3 reported that they need people with multilingual skills and that those needs are not being met. Additionally, about half of U.S. employers indicate that their need for language skills will increase in the coming years. Possibly because of that, a lot of people right now are actively trying to learn a second language, about 1 in 4 or 1.8 billion people worldwide. But only about 5% of that language instruction is conducted online, which means that there's a huge opportunity to increase that market. And now I'll hand it back to Anne, who will talk about some current apps.
Thank you, Suzanne. So let's take a quick look at today language learning apps existing in the market today, and the most popular one is Duolingo, as you may know. So Duolingo has 500 million registered users, but among these, only 8.4% are active monthly users. So we couldn't help but question, why is that the case? Well, as a group of language learning experts, this is the problem that we see repeatedly over and over again, not only with Duolingo, but with other language learning apps out there that use the technique called sentence translations. So you don't have to be an expert to see that the sentence does not make any sense. So you tell me when you're ever going to use a sentence like this in the real world. Let me show you another better example, and this example comes from Monly, which is another popular language learning app. And Monly has these chatbot features that allow the users to interact with the computer. But at the end of the lesson, users may be very fluent in repeating these fixed expressions like, how are you and what would you like to order, but they will never be able to use language creatively in the real world to get the job done. So overall, the problem with today's language learning apps today is that they use ineffective language teaching techniques, and these include memorization, sentence translation, repeat after me, decontextualized sentences, and inauthentic interaction. Next, I'll hand over to Kristen to talk about what we found from our customer discovery interviews and how our product can address our customers' needs.
Okay, thank you, Anne. So for our customer discovery, we spoke with 20 adult language learners who spent 1 to 15 years studying a second language or foreign language. Their goals were to not only fulfill the language requirements set by the institution, but they wanted to be proficient enough to work abroad, travel, and consume popular culture. However, throughout their language learning journey, they reported feeling stuck, so they were not able to progress on to higher levels of proficiency, thus affecting their ability to maintain their motivation. Second, they were able to understand this foreign language fairly well, but they had a difficult time producing, especially speaking in the second language. And then last, they reported a lack of real-world relevance in the language learning materials. Therefore, GOALL offers practical solutions that fit our customers' needs by providing bite-sized, task-based activities that are informed by cutting-edge research, and these tasks are designed specifically for you. So these tasks are real-world activities that we do on a daily basis. For example, we read a news article almost every day, and then we might just read it to be informed, but we might also go to our family and friends to share about what we just read about, and then maybe exchange our opinions about it. So these tasks are really meant to get you engaged to use the language in a meaningful way in a real-world context. And I'll turn it back over to Anne, who will begin walking us through GOALL.
Thank you very much, Kristen. So let's take a look at GOALL and how our app stands out from the language learning app market today. So once the user logs into our app, they will be presented with a home page, and at the top, they will see 3 categories targeting at specific language skills, including mixed skill, communicating skills, and literacy skills. And we also have 12 levels that correspond to severe language learning capabilities, and within each level, there are 10 task-based activities ordered by complexity and difficulty. At the bottom of the page, we have 5 navigation buttons that users can use, and these include some of the features that help us stand out from other language learning apps. And today, we'd like to walk you through one of the activities that we include in recommendations, which is called interactive reading tutor. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Anne. So we're not going to be talking about elephants or birds and skirts anymore. As Kristen mentioned, one really common task that a language learner needs to do is read a newspaper article and then do something with the information that they find out. But a learner who's only at the intermediate or advanced level might not be able to do that by themselves independently. And so we developed an algorithm that will walk them through this process and help them to understand it better. So the student selects their own text that they want to read, and then then they write a summary. The algorithm will use that summary to determine how well they actually understood that article. And in this case, when we enter our summary, we can see that we actually don't understand the article especially well. And so what the algorithm does then is it breaks it down into smaller chunks. So now we're looking at a single paragraph. And again, we write a short summary. The algorithm determines how well we understand this particular paragraph. And we, again, don't understand it especially well. So it again breaks it down into even smaller chunks. So now we're looking only at the sentence, and it's going to ask us things like, who did this verb, to make sure we understand the syntactic relationships in this sentence. And it goes through this process for the whole text. But importantly, if the learner already understands a paragraph, it actually will just skip that paragraph and go on to the next one. So it doesn't waste the learner's time on things that they already understand. And now I'm going to hand it over to Yang, who will just, and at the end, once they've gone through this whole process for the whole text, then they can do something that reflects verbal activities, like write a reaction, create a podcast that other people can respond to, and otherwise share the information that they've learned. And now I'm going to hand it over to Yang, who will discuss our business structure.
Thank you, Suzanne. So in terms of our business model, we adopt a freemium model, which includes 2 sections. One is a free version with ads, and one is a premium version with subscription. Our initial platform will include Chinese and English as our target languages, but we plan to expand to other critical regions and languages in the near future. We estimate that 3 testing versions, including a beta, an internal testing version, and a public testing version, need to be released before the official launch of GO 1.0. GO 1.0 will be launched on both the mobile-based and web-based platforms to cater the diverse needs and preferences of different customers. In terms of our marketing strategy, after the launch of GO 1.0, we plan to reach out to focal areas including government agencies, public school systems, and other language institutes to seek out potential partnership opportunities. We also plan to present GO to professional conferences and forums to gather their feedback and further promote our product and services. Other customer acquisition strategy include having commercials on social media platforms, having referral programs, and demo and testimonials on our web and app interfaces. Finally, we think of our budget in reference to the key phases that we need to develop and launch GO. These steps are our preliminary analysis of the key phases that we need to take and the costs that will be associated with them. In total, we estimate that it will take us about 7 months to break even with a budget of just under $70,000. So if we were to receive the 10,000 award, we plan to use it in the critical app development phase, during which we onboard a team of tech professionals to get our prototype running, and a team of business and finance experts to help us officially launch GO. So with that being said, we thank you all for listening about GO, and we welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right, I'll try and project. So the major value add here, something different, is this will be centered around task-based learning. Have you folks been able to already test that in terms of how effective that is? Of course, I know your background in language teaching, but where is that step, or are you already past that step?
Answer that question. Thank you very much for that question. So we are currently still finalizing our initial prototype, so we haven't actually gone out and tested with users, so usability, but that's our immediate next step. After probably in the summer, we're going to start doing customer interviews, so by then we'll have initial first level task activities design, and then we're going to start with the customer usability testing locally, and then we'll launch it maybe through like a usability hub, like a platform that allows her to reach more people outside of the Hawaii community.
Right, so there's the usability aspect, but there's the effectiveness aspect too. Will you folks be able to measure the success of learning using this tool versus one of the other apps?
That's a really good question. Yeah.
To that. So right now in the field of second language acquisition, there's a large body of research that shows that this task-based approach is much more effective than things like sentence translation or rote memorization and things like that. As far as measuring our success against other apps, yes, that's something that is definitely feasible and that we would definitely like to test once we get it up and running. Does that answer your question?
Thanks. So you touched on this, but let me just ask. So this is a ferociously competitive space with some very, very big players. I mean, at Blue Startups, for example, where I'm a mentor, we routinely, every cohort, probably get 2 or 3 pitches from companies that want to do language learning for either Asian students for English or English students for Asian languages. How are you going to chop through the noise here and get in front of people with that kind of competitive environment?
Yeah, I'll answer this question. That's a really good question, and it's something that we think about all the time, what makes us stand out. And based on our competitive analysis, we said that there's a lot of language learning apps out there, but they use similar techniques. And then at the end, like our customer discovery interview, we found out that learners feel stuck. They can feel an initial sense of accomplishment, or I can memorize words and phrases in the beginning, and that's what pretty much all the language learning apps today do. But then once you go beyond maybe like a high beginner level, you're never gonna surpass that. And when you're in the real world, you cannot communicate with somebody. So our task-based community allows users to communicate or to read a text. So that's really different from what they can do by memorizing or matching pictures.
I understand in terms of the results, but if I go on Google and I say, how to learn Japanese or how to learn Mandarin, right? I'm going to see a ton of ads, and I don't know, and I'm going to, I guess maybe at some level I get down to reviews eventually, but you guys are going to be faces in the crowd there, and you're going to be not optimized, on those search engines necessarily, right? It's kind of like if I go on and I say, cures for arthritis, I'm going to get tons and tons of them. Now, some of them may work, some of them may not, but it's very difficult to tell, right? So the question is not so much does your thing work, but how do you convince people that it works such that they start using it?
Right, so if you look for a cure for arthritis, you will look for somebody who has experience in curing arthritis, right? So that for us, actually, if you look at the language learning apps out there, they're all created by engineers or people who are not trained in language learning.
You start using it.
Right, so if you look for a cure for arthritis, you will look for somebody who has experience in curing arthritis, right? So that for us, actually, if you look at the language learning apps out there, they're all created by engineers or people who are not trained in language learning. And we really stand out from those people by we're training that particular area, and we all have domain experts in helping people really achieve their language learning goals. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Alright, just to build on, so I think in our marketing strategy, something we talked about was being word of mouth through the institutions, whether it's applied linguistics universities or the local language institutions here that we have here in Hawaii. And those institutions, a lot of their students come here to learn English to be able to use outside. So we would be able to start there, and then also attend local conferences where a lot of those teachers and students come to improve. So first word of mouth in the very beginning, but then as we advance on and develop the app to be fully complete, then we would go on to the social media marketing.
I'm not going to use this because it's not. It just makes it look like I'm like serious. But so the other thing that I think is a big competitor of yours is kind of those instant translators. Because I think when people feel stuck, they either don't know how to start, or I start for a week and then I get busy and then I have very limited memory on my brain hard drive. How do you overcome that? Because pretty much the Google translators are becoming pretty instantaneous. And I gotta imagine it's going to just get faster and faster and faster, that it's almost going to be like almost real time.
What I think about that is that even if it is incredibly fast, they still create a barrier, right? So there's this sort of lag between two people trying to create whatever they're doing, right? Whether they're exchanging information or trying to do some kind of business deal or something like that, right? And I think that at the end of the day, people are always, and businesses, when they hire, they want people who can actually interact and connect directly with other people, right? So I think that at the end of the day, people are always going to want to learn the language themselves and not just solely rely on these translators.
Exactly. So our target customers are language learners. So for people who want to use translation, they can. But I feel like if they want to use it for language learning, sure, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But our app is designed for people who actually want to learn the language rather than using it as a convenient tool to communicate with others.
Okay, maybe I'll not use that as well. So I confess I am probably one of the hardest type of persons to learn a second language. And if I think about Chinese, right, with the different tones, plus now, writing the characters, the thousands of characters, I would be lost right out the door. I recognize that's one of the biggest markets, but have you folks, what's your thinking behind just launching into Chinese and English versus testing this on some other language perhaps that might be a little bit easier?
We do have two Chinese language teachers here.
I do want to clarify that the task that we demoed today is intended for higher level learners, so they already have some language background, they already know at least some of the characters, maybe most of the characters, and they just need a little extra support in order to really understand the full article. But the idea is that we would kind of start with this idea that already works, and then we'll build out additional levels. So I think, Anne showed the sort of interface where we'll have all the different levels. So for early beginners who have no idea what any of the characters mean and have no idea what any of it sounds like or anything like that, the tasks would of course be very, very different. And that's something that we're in the process of developing.
Oh, I think you answered it perfectly, but I just want to clarify that it is actually a misunderstanding when people say Chinese is the most difficult languages. As a language teacher myself, I can say actually it's not that hard.
Well, you're a PhD.
I did learn Chinese as a second language, and I can attest to this. The syntax is fairly simple.
I just have one quick follow-up. So I imagine Chinese and English are your first languages. Do you plan to expand into other languages?
Yes, in the future. So we kind of wanted to start with two, and then once we had a good model established, develop out from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's give one round of applause for all of the finalists. Okay, so this brings us to a close of the competition portion of the program. So we're going to ask the judges to move to a separate room to deliberate. And YouTube audience, please return at 11:30 for the special award ceremony, and that's when we'll announce the winners. So we will see you then. Hey, we are So the judges are back and results are in. And just for those of you who are joining the program just now, I'm Sandra Fujiyama. I'm the Executive Director of PACE. To kick off our award ceremony, please help me welcome my co-host of this event, the Dean of the Shidler College of Business, Ann Turley.
Welcome everybody to Shidler College of Business. Wonderful to see everybody here today. This is the 22nd annual competition that we've had, and just continue to be inspired by the quality and diversity of the teams. This year we had, at the outset, we told you we had 5 UH campuses represented here, and more than 25 different areas of study. So again, it's been really nice attracting people from across the University of Hawaii system. And we had 3 teams here that did a spectacular job. All 3 teams won. Just by being here, you all won. So third, second, and first place, you all have won. So congratulations. We couldn't do this without our partners and supporters of this event. And as sponsors, coaches, judges, instructors, thank you all for all you have done for PACE and this annual event. Also, would like to especially thank our title sponsors for this year's competition, HEI and Hawaii Electric. So let's give them a round of applause. Again, just great partners, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Hawaii Electric Industries President and CEO, Scott Seo.
So I stand here just representing the 3,600 employees of the HEI family of companies. So HEI, American Savings Bank, and Michelle Bartels representing the bank today. Michelle, thank you for hosting us. We sort of joke inside our company that ASB opened their doors to the corporation, and we keep showing up. But the hospitality is so much appreciated. And of course, Hawaiian Electric Company, both Shelley Kimura and Ann Teranishi would have loved to have been here, but unfortunately they are out at some other events this morning, so we all just work together. We have been so happy to be sponsors of this competition over the years. For us, it really does represent the future, and I think all of us can say without hesitation that the passion that you hear from all the teams just came shining through. Right? When it comes to actually then presenting ideas of, the nuts and bolts of how do you take that passion and execute and get it into some workable business, right? That's where it gets, a little bit hard, and there's a ton of things that these teams have to think about and work through. But as long as they have that passion and that higher purpose for why they're doing that, then we know that they're going to be able to succeed no matter what. So. Again, on behalf of all the HEI family of companies, we're just so happy that you folks are here and that we're a part of it. So just thank you for what you folks are doing.
Thank you, Scott, for all of those inspiring words. We really appreciate you and HEI for your continued support over the years. You really are supporting the next generation of awesome, talented entrepreneurs. So thank you for doing that, and thank you just for supporting us in the ecosystem. Okay, as you can imagine, this competition is an enormous undertaking that involves a big cast of supporters. So I'd like to thank, first of all, our generous prize sponsors, So a list of the prizes are on page 13 of the program, but I would want the folks to stand up and be recognized. So if Travis Ito from Blue Logic Labs is here, I'd like Tim to stand up. Okay. Leah Hong, she's representing Highbeam. So Nam and Nita Vu from Hub Co-working Hawaii. Charles Roach from Venture Pro. Not here, okay. Pia Arma from Pineapple Tweed. And Greg Kim from Vantage Council. Is Greg here? No, not here. Okay, so I also want to give a big thank you to our long list of mentors, coaches, and judges. So if you look around the room, folks with lays on are the folks that have helped us out and volunteered their time. So please, big round of applause for all of them. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to the PACE team. So I would not be here but for them. We are a small but mighty team, and they are so incredibly hardworking. So Crystal Lee, sitting here. Our students, because we could not do it without them. Our students here, Levi, Matthew, and but they couldn't make it, but they also helped support in various ways in order to pull all of this off. So thank you to all of you guys for making this happen. Okay, in addition to this competition, we also offer a number of comprehensive programs throughout the year so that these students can then take their ideas and further develop them and further move them along the pathway. So we have multiple people to thank for that, including our PACE board, our donors who continue to invest in our programs. We could not do these programs and offer them for free to our students without our donors. And as well as all you folks with the lays and all of you folks who have volunteered for us and spoken for us and lended your expertise and support. So thank you to everyone in this room for your community, for your support, and for allowing us to make this happen for our students. Okay, so at this moment, we would like to recognize a really special person. So I want to call Dean Rowley back up.
I am not that special person. So I am here to recognize Susan Yamada. So she has quietly retired this month from the University of Hawaii. All she's done for entrepreneurship education at the University of Hawaii. Now that's what I'm supposed to say. Now, let me tell you that Susan is not capable of retiring. We're just not paying her anymore. But Susan has been incredible 14 years, and I take credit for everything Pace has done for those 14 years because I convinced her to be executive director of Pace. And that was not easy, my friends. Because first she said no. And then secondly, she said, okay, I could work half-time, here are the conditions. And she knew I wasn't going to accept that. But of course I did, because anytime you hire somebody like Susan half-time, guess how many hours a week that is. So it was just amazing. So she just brought Pace all these new programs. I mean, we benchmark against other programs in the U.S. mainland, and just Pace is right there, if not better, than most of the entrepreneurship programs that you will see, and it's all due to Susan. Susan, we would meet on regular terms, regular basis, and she would walk into my office. It started out good. Every meeting, she said, "Hi, boss," and then what the meeting, what it entailed was me taking notes. She said, "Vance, I want you to do this." "Yes, Susan." "Yes, Susan." And by the time, gave me all I could do until we next met. But she was just inspiring to us all. Just the heart she has for this and the effort she put into this and the successes that we've had. So congratulations, Susan, and you really have a well-deserved retirement. Of course, we're going to see you around a lot. And as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to present you with something. I need some help here. I baked you a small cake. This is a brick from the Charles Atherton House, because the last 5 years, Susan has been instrumental in getting this impossible project done. And so this is the brick. We took it off and pulled back the house up.
Thank you, Dean Rowley, and congratulations, Susan. We know that you're not really retiring. So thank you. So one last thing before we announce the winners. We also want to recognize a special student. Each year we select one student who has made exceptional contributions to entrepreneurial activities at the university and in our community. This student is an entrepreneur in her own right. She was a member of the winning team for this competition in 2020. She has also served as the vice chair of the Calvin Shindo Student Venture Fund since February of 2021, co-leading a committee of 12 students to manage the venture finance process, while also enrolled at law school to obtain her law degree. She served as a civil rights advocate at the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii and as an intern at Blue Startups. So I am thrilled to present the Outstanding Entrepreneurship Student of the Year Award to Madonna Castro Perez. Okay, and now it's time to announce the results of the 2020 UH Venture Competition. So I'd like to call to the stage Leah Hong to present the third place award, sponsored by High Beam in honor of her late husband and pioneer, Billy Richardson. So in third place, the $2,500 cash award in honor of pioneer Billy Richardson by High Beam, along with thousands more in professional services, goes to Ōfaga Leo. Thank you, Leah. Now to announce the second and first place winners, I'd like to call up Dean Rowley and Scott. In second place, the $5,000 HEI and Hawaiian Electric cash prize, plus thousands more in professional services, goes to Recesio and their coach, Davin Higashi. support from HEI and Hawaiian Electric, plus thousands more in professional services, goes to GOALL. With before you close your browser, again, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. Okay, so this concludes our program. Aloha, everyone. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for coming out and supporting us.